Hello everyone, and welcome back to another manga review with Daniel Rustage. Today, we're going to be doing the first volume of Fire Force. This is more of a laid-back discussion, just talking about my thoughts and opinions on the first volume of Fire Force. I'm not, qualified to be a super in-depth anime reviewer. This is not like a pre-written script. I'm just going to be talking about my thoughts on it for a little while. If you want someone who's, more in-depth, I don't know, it's totally not Mark. He's great. He does the in-depth stuff. I'm just going to be talking about it, talk about what I liked, what I disliked, and I hope that's good enough for you. I hope that's great. I'm streaming on Twitch, twitch.tv/rustage_. And everyone's here, and you can read what they're saying about it as well, and I might occasionally read something of theirs out, and they're here to correct me on anything I'm saying that's stupid, which is great, and I appreciate that. We are reading Fire Force, and now I did watch, I think, the first episode of it, but I am a manga reader over anime, so I decided to pick up the manga and read it. I also think I might do a rap about it at some point, but we shall see. And immediately, it is shonen, and shonen has a lot of tropes that I'll get into. It has a lot of things that a lot of things share, and you kind of get a little bit tired of seeing the same shonen tropes over and over again. So I'm kind of not to take that bias into account when I'm talking about this, because that's just a thing that happens, right? Some of my favorite mangas are shonen, and they have the same tropes, so I can't really say it's bad in one thing if I like it in something else. Anyway, let's get into Fire Force. The first thing I want to say about Fire Force is I think the world is really interesting. I like this whole... it just is like if someone said, hey, what if we fought fire with fire? And they were like, I'm going to make an entire show about that. I'm going to dedicate the next 20 years of my life to fighting fire with fire. I like that you immediately get some interesting backstories to the world. You have these first-generation fire people. It starts with someone exploding and lighting on fire. It's quite a hot start, which is really effective, right? It's just like, boom, you see him explode, right? And that's good. So you have these first-generation fire people who just explode, become infernals. They're bad. Second generation can control fire, and third generation can create fire, like the main character Shinra. They're like firebenders, right? I think it's cool. I also like how it's kind of set up that there's going to be some sort of religious undertones throughout this whole thing, and if done effectively, that could be really well. You have a lot of metaphors and things that you can pull from there, and Attack on Titan had it, and in a little bit that I thought worked kind of well. You already have she's doing a prayer for the infernal thing. It's set up immediately. It's good. You get introduced pretty soon to the character of Shinra, and Shinra has this interesting quirk, which is whenever he gets nervous or stressed, he smiles, right? And people... that gets misconstrued, it makes fun of. I think it's a really interesting quirk to have. I think, unfortunately for Shinra, outside of that quirk, he doesn't have much character so far, right? He has things that have happened to him, but outside of that, he's kind of just a generic shonen boy who wants to be a hero. There's nothing else about his character that makes me go, he's acting at the moment as more of a vessel for the reader to learn about the world and stuff. What I like, we're just going to go straight into his backstory. I really like the idea that his tragic mother death that, a lot of characters have in anime is people think it was caused by him, right? Because he set his house on fire and killed his mother. But there is the small mystery there immediately that might not be the case. And I think that's quite exciting, and that's something that I'm excited to explore later on, right? Outside of that, so far, he smiles when he's stressed out, and he wants to be a hero, which makes sense. He wants to protect people. He couldn't protect his mother. He wanted to be a hero. So far, that's great. I'm sure he'll develop other personality traits as he moves through the story. And again, shonen protagonists don't always have to be the most in-depth characters, but they still have some sort of character to them. Right now, it just feels like the story's kind of happening to him at the moment, and he's not really participating in doing things actively, but that's fine. It's the setup. The setup of shonen stuff doesn't tend to be super exciting or interesting. It's just supposed to start it and introduce you to the world. And I would like to say about the world, whenever we get a drawing of the town or the city, it looks incredible. I love this world. So far, it just looks cool. It's still Tokyo, but it's like an alternative universe Tokyo. It's like set in a different calendar. It's really cool. It's really cool looking. I mean, this is like really early on. You get that shot, and I'm like, wow, that's just cool. I just like how it looks. I think it just looks really interesting. It's an interesting aesthetic to the whole thing. It really sets the tone for the series. I think that the entire aesthetic of the entire series is quite cool. I like their outfits. It looks cool. The whole show looks cool. The whole manga looks cool. And it's clean. The art's clean. It's quite easy to see what's going on. I think they do, for it, the entire thing being based around fire, they showcase the fire really well. It's got like Legend of Korra vibes is kind of the aesthetic, like Republic City. It's that sort of like industrial era town, but with like new, old, steampunky kind of thing. I like it. Now, let's get into a little bit more about things I might have disliked before we get into more things I liked. You get introduced to the stereotypical like shy girl. Then you get introduced to the character Maki, and the first panel you see of her, she is naked, and that's a red flag in my mind, right? I'm like, okay, they're introducing this character and she's naked immediately. Like I don't even know her name yet, and I've already seen her naked body, and I'm like, oh, all right, sure, great. And they're also talking about the first conversation that she has is with another girl talking about like romance and love. And it's okay to have hopeless romantic characters, but if it's the first female character conversation you have, and they're only talking about how it feels like to meet the one and wedding bells and all that, it's just kind of weird to me. And I don't know, it just sort of, it's not anything egregious, but it kind of like immediately kind of sets the tone for what the author thinks of women straight away, and it makes me a little uncomfortable. Anyway, we're gonna continue. There's another character we'll get into, another female character. There are two female characters in this book that I thought were the same character, because they look the same to me, and maybe I'm crazy, but they look the same to me, and they have very similar names. Which is Maki and Tamaki, right? When she... fuck it. We're just going to go into this conversation. Okay, so Maki exists at the beginning, and she has that weird introduction, and then she, like, leans over, you see her cleavage, and it's, like, immediately... And then they say this wacky line that I had to send to Mark and Connor. The line was... Is this the fragrance of a wet woman? I'm feeling some pressure in my little fire hose. I was like, okay, dude. I think he's saying that to make fun of what Shinra is thinking about, right? But the author still wrote that. That's so weird. Actually, all of the lines building up to that point were kind of weird as well, right? Shinra's like, they both smell kind of nice. It's just weird. And we're only like 20 pages into the manga. And I understand some people like that. And this is entirely a personal preference, I guess, for me. Is just I feel it's just makes me uncomfortable to read. I just think it's kind of weird. Yeah, anyway, you get that like shot of her cleavage, like clear. Get some more interesting stuff about his backstory, etc., etc. And then you get into their first mission. And this is similar to Jujutsu Kaisen, which I was talking about in the other video, where you have that first mission where you're like showcasing that the character is good at what he does, right? In Jujutsu Kaisen, it's when he's rescuing his friends. In this, he's on his first mission and you get to see the abilities of everyone play off each other. And I think it's really well done. And I actually saw this animated and it was really cool. And there are some really clean panels. The fighting in this and the art in this is really good. And he has some flashbacks to his mother that are effective in the scene. I think it works well. He has this, like, I have to be a hero, his heroic moment. He's blasting off. And then you've got this. This page is just incredible. I love that. You don't get, like, people do say, like, oh, anime is great, better for fights because animation's great and everything. But turning over a page and seeing a panel like that is something you can only experience in manga for me. And that's just such a great feeling that I love. I love this. I love 2-page action shots like this. And already there's a really great one in here. The art is great. The characters all look really clean. It's easy to understand what's going on, which is important. Things aren't too cluttered. Similar to Jujutsu Kaisen, I like how the characters look. And I do like their designs as well. I like their designs. And a lot of the male characters are pretty good so far. I think the lieutenant's good. You know, he's kind of more uptight, but he's kind of sadistic in a little way. He takes pleasure in enforcing the rules. The captain's cool. He reminds me of Daichi from Haikyuu. He can be serious when he needs to, but he's generally quite sympathetic and friendly, and he's like a teacher character. He kind of gives off, like, oh, really bad things happen to him in his childhood sort of vibes, and that's why, or something, I don't know. And he wants to, yeah. And then we get introduced to Mr. Arthur Boyle, which is great, because I'm not going to forget his name, because it's, because I'm a stupid white guy. He's cool. And I think he's cool he's obviously the stereotypical rival character, right? That's fine. But I just think he's cool because of his sword. I just think the plasma sword is cool. And sometimes I can just be monkey brain, dummy. I could talk about how characterizations are effective and stuff, but sometimes I'm just like, haha, plasma sword, it looks cool, right? I just think his lightsaber is cool. It's just cool to look at. It looks cool when he uses it. I want one, you know? I think it's a really interesting creative use of the power as well. It's just lightsaber go brrr. And he has this whole knight thing, which is cool, but it's a little cringy. This whole knight versus hero thing is like, it's kind of forced conflict a little bit. And then the funniest bits of this manga so far are when the lieutenant comes along and like pours water on the little fire creatures that Maki makes. I think that's pretty funny. I just thought that was funny. That's probably the funniest thing of the manga so far for me. So I'm glad that it has this humor. You also get to see Maki just fucking beat them up with her fists, which is good. I do like that they have that. And then they go into a mission. Arthur, Shinra, they all go into their second mission. And it's where you get introduced to... Because at this point, you're like, okay, so they're going to just do these missions and stuff. But where's, like, the villain? Who's the villain of the story? This is where you get introduced to this mysterious character who, like, started a fire somewhere. He's done something. You're not really quite sure. He's used this little powder thing. And what I really like about this section, it's probably my favorite bit of the manga, is the conversation that the captain has with Arthur and Shinra where they pull their weapons out too soon. And he's like, yo, don't fucking do that. Because we want to keep up this image. This whole time we've been doing this like religious thing. We're saving their, rescuing their souls. We've been choosing our languages. But at the end of the day, we are just murdering these things. We're just putting them out their misery. We're not actually rescuing their souls or anything. And if you just come in brandishing weapons, it looks like we're a bunch of fucking murderers. So don't do that. He obviously put it in better words. I just think it's just really effective, especially from such a character, like a captain character. I just thought it was good. It was a good scene. Like that scene. They go in and they stab the guy and it's really dramatic. Put him down. Look at the flowers, Lenny and George. I think that scene's effective too. And with the little girl who's upset, I think that entire section's effective. Then we move on to maybe my least favorite part, which is this character Tamaki. And here's the thing, right? Here's the thing. she appears, and I thought it was Maki, but wearing less clothes. I was like, okay, Maki's wearing less clothes. Because they look exactly the same to me, right? I was flicking back, and I was comparing her face, Maki and Tamaki's face. Not only do they look exactly the same, but because her name's Tamaki and her name's Maki, I just assumed that Maki was a nickname that they had given her. So when they said Tamaki, I was like, oh, this is... But then she was like, don't mess with my captain. I was like, wait, is this a different character? They look exactly the same. They have the same face, their hair color's the same, and they sometimes wear it in the exact same way. And the only difference is the way they wear their clothes. And I guess maybe in the anime there's some more difference. Maybe their eye color's a different color or something. But in the manga, I don't know if I'm being stupid, but they just look the same, and it was really confusing at first. And then the first thing that happened, I don't know if I could show it on Twitch, is he fucking gropes her, right? Which I'm like, oh, that's not good, right? And then they go... Then they explain it. All right, then he gropes her ass, and then they explain it that she has this weird curse. And I'm sure this is already like a debated topic that everyone's already talked about to death, right? She has this weird quirk where it's called the Lucky Leecher Lure, where she just gets in unlucky situations where she gets sexually harassed constantly, right? But the thing is, right, that's just an excuse. This is the thing. This is a small side rant I want to go on, right? Because this happens a lot in written media, where a character will have a reason why they get weirdly sexually exploited in the show, right? Like, I think there was like Metal Gear Solid character who like wore no clothes because her ability was, if she showed more of her skin, she was stronger. And there's a few examples like that. And people always go like, oh yeah, she has this thing and that's why it's like that. It's not a big deal. But people forget that it's the author who's the one who wrote that thing in. He made the conscious decision to give this character a thing that means that he can have his male characters sexually assault her constantly for, I don't know, to get his rocks off. It doesn't even make sense for the story, at least what I've seen so far. Right? It doesn't really... It's just a character quirk she has. And it sucks. I just think it sucks. It's really demeaning, I feel. And I don't know. You can write sexy characters that your audience is like, oh, that's a sexy character that I like, and have them do sexy things without it being like completely demeaning to the character, and have them be like sexually assaulted, but it's okay because that's her fault and not his fault because it's a thing that she has. It's weird. I don't like it. It makes me uncomfortable. And I know some people will watch this and think I'm a little baby, or like I'm uptight, or that it's not that big of a deal, or I should be happy that I'm seeing some titty. But it's like, it just sucks, I feel. You can really see that it's the author. The author is like, the author wants this. It's really just like, just draw porn, dude. Just go write a good story and then go and draw some pornography. Anyway, yeah, that's my problem with it. And anyway, that's so far. Hello, Shizzy. You're the goat. Thank you. Anyway, that's so far my problem with it. And he meets the guy, obviously, the main character meets the guy who was there when his mother died, and he doesn't want anything to do with him. So there's a mystery already set up, like, you think he's lying. And then they have this training mission, and they go into the building, and they see that main villain from earlier, and the main villain from earlier is like, do you want to know what happened? And then that's where the volume ends, which I think is a really effective way to make you interested to read the second volume. So it ends well, right? The final ending is good. It's just, there's a lot of problems I have with that. Besides, obviously, it's quite generic. Shinra's not a super interesting character so far. I hope he gets better. It's an okay story so far. It's quite fun to read, and it has the potential to be interesting and good. I just hope it is, right? Because it also has the potential to not be good, depending on where the direction goes. I guess that's the point with a lot of Volume 1s. It could go either way. I didn't enjoy it quite as much as Jujutsu Kaisen, but I didn't hate it as much as I thought I would when I reread it like this. So I think it's all right so far. It's fine. It's good. I actually think I enjoyed it more than the first volume of Black Clover, but I really like Black Clover now. So who knows? It's not about I really like the world. I like the world. I think the world's great, and I like some of the characters as well. But no character I love. There's no character so far that I'm like, I love this character. I just like some of them. The world is the most... So far, the world is the most interesting part of this for me. So, yeah. Well, fuck, I dropped it. If chat has any extra little questions that I've maybe missed about the first volume, which is chapters 1 to 5, by the way, let me know and I'll answer them if you want my opinions on specific things. Otherwise... I think I might have covered everything. Let me double check my notes. Yeah, female character's not good. Yeah. Cool. Great. I think that's good. I think we're good. Yes, so that's it. That's Fire Force Volume 1. I think it was all right. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I stream these on twitch.tv/rustage_. I will continue to read these, and if you guys want me to, and let me know what manga you want me to. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for watching. See you next time. Crew, dismissed.